Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Raw and Real Beyond the Mask. And today we're tackling something that a lot of men, including myself, have experienced at some point in life. Feeling powerless, whether it's at work, in a relationship, or dealing with the ups and downs of life. That sense of losing control that can weigh heavy on you. It's a tough feeling, but today we're going to explore how we can break through and reclaim control of our own lives. Hello and welcome to Beyond the Mask. I'm your host, Big Dave. Join me for a journey of self-discovery, growth and connection. And we will take off the mask that we've all been wearing too long. Okay, before we dive in, let's be real for a second. We've all been there. You're stuck in a job you hate, or maybe your relationship's just falling apart. Life feels like it's moving forward without you. And no matter what you try, you can't seem to catch up. I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. Lots of men feel this way, but we often don't talk about it. Today, I'll share some real life examples, some research-backed insights, and practical tips that help you start regaining your control. Alright, so let me tell you about a mate of mine, Jamie. He's worked for the same company for nearly 20 years. One day, out of the blue, his roles just started to feel redundant. No promotions, no raises, just a stagnant grind, day in and day out. He felt like he had hit a dead end, powerless to change anything. Every day he clocked in, he started doubting himself, feeling trapped in an endless loop of work, home, sleep, repeat. Eventually it got so bad that Jamie decided to confide in me, saying he felt like there was no way out, no hope of things getting any better. But here's what we did. We sat down and looked at all the options he hadn't considered. Jamie started looking for training programs that would give him new skills, things like online courses to expand his horizons. It wasn't overnight, but slowly, by taking control, he found new opportunities. Jamie didn't leave his job immediately, but by regaining control over what he could change, transformed his mindset. That's the key. When you feel powerless, focus on the things you can influence, no matter how small they seem. Now, I've had some great questions come through, and I want to answer a few that tie into today's topic. Question number one is, how do you handle that overwhelming feeling of powerlessness when it feels like everything's out of control? Now, here's my answer. The first thing you've got to do and understand is that life's going to throw things at you that are outside of your control. But here's the trick. Focus on areas that you can have influence. Psychologists talk about something called the circle of control. There's stuff that's within your direct control, like your habits, your actions, how you react to situations. Then there's the stuff that's outside of control, like other people's actions, or the weather, or the economy. When you spend too much energy on things outside your control, that's when you feel powerless. So step one, shift your focus. What's one small thing you can change today, whether it's your mindset, your routine, or just having that difficult conversation you've been putting off? Little steps lead to big changes. So question number two, how can I regain a sense of control when my relationship feels like it's falling apart? Relationships, another massive source of stress and powerlessness for a lot of us. I spoke to a bloke the other day, Gareth. His marriage was on the rocks and he felt like no matter what he did, nothing was important and nothing was improving. That's the thing. When you're in that place, it feels like you're hitting your head against a brick wall and all you can think of is, what is the point? But there's something Gareth realised after he chatted. You can't always control the other person's actions. You can control your communication and your efforts. Gareth started to seek counselling, not just couples counselling, but also individual sessions, one-to-ones with a counsellor between him and himself. He worked on himself first, learned to communicate better and understand his own emotions. And what it was through that work, through improving his approach, that his relationship started to improve. Okay, so now let's take a quick look at the science behind this. Research shows that powerlessness can lead to what psychologists call learned helplessness. It's when you've been in difficult situations for so long that you start believing nothing will ever change. Even if opportunities do come your way, you stop trying because it feels pointless. But here's the thing, this mindset can be changed. Studies show that when people focus on small, achievable goals, they start to feel more control of their lives. The trick is to stop thinking about the moment and just focus on the next step. Okay, I want to share another real life story with you. This one hits close to home. My mate Paul went through a messy breakup a couple of years ago. He and his partner had been together for over a decade, and when it ended, Paul was completely crushed. He felt powerlessness. His identity was wrapped up in a relationship, and when it crumbled, so did his sense of control over his life. He shut down, started drinking more, and stopped going all out altogether. But one day, after months of spiraling, he made a decision. He couldn't change what had happened, but he could change how he responded. Paul started reconnecting with his friends, picked up a few new hobbies, and eventually started seeing a therapist. The relationship didn't come back, but Paul found himself again. He realised that sometimes the only thing you can control is you, and when you focus on that, you start rebuilding brick by brick. Okay, so before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a few practical tips that will help you start regaining control of your life when it feels like it's spiraling out of your hands. So tip number 1, break it down. When you're overwhelmed, it's tempting to try and fix everything all at once, but that's a surefire way to burn out. Instead, break your challenges down into small tasks. Take it day by day, or even hour by hour. Focus on what you can accomplish in that moment. Okay, tip number 2. Tip number 2 is reach out for help. One of the hardest things for us men to do is asking for help. But like Gareth and Paul, they realised you don't have to do it alone. Whether it's a mate, a family member, or a professional, talking about how powerless you feel can help you find solutions you might not see on your own. And tip number 3, celebrate those small wins. Too often we overlook the small victories in life because we're too focused on the big picture. But when you're feeling powerless, every small win counts. If you got out of bed today, that's a win. If you made that difficult phone call or asked for help, celebrate that. All those little wins count. They make you feel better in yourself and they help you grow. So alright guys, that's all we got for today. If you're feeling powerless, remember, focus on what you can control. Take it step by step and don't be afraid to ask for help. And if you found today's episode helpful, share it with someone who might need to hear this. Leave a review, subscribe, and keep tuning in to Raw and Real Beyond the Mask. And until next time, stay strong, stay real, and remember, you're never powerless as you think.